Have you ever had that feeling that your brand was all over the place, that you were grasping at every little possible thing just to find something to help you move forward, but nothing would stick? Yeah, me too. Today, we're going to dive into something that took me a while to discover and can help you kind of make it to that next stage in your business evolution. The secret weapon, strong brand values. As we go through this today, we're going to kind of go through a value pyramid to help you build trust and set that foundation for you to have a thriving brand. We'll also explore some actionable items that you can start to go through in a step-by-step process so you can start building that trust and bring in more clients, build that retention. Again, Zach, let's get right into it. So as we get into today's exercise, I really want you to think about this for a second. The value of those said brand values. I mean, think about it. Have you ever hung out with a friend and he has this certain type of personality? You know, that personality that could possibly shift over time. Now, you probably hang out with your current friends, your current family, because they have certain types of personality traits that you mesh with, that you connect with. But when you really think down, would you still be hanging out with those people if those personality traits shifted on a common basis? People like to connect with people that they relate to, people that are authentic, companies that are authentic. These values and what we're going over today should be kind of a guide for you, kind of a moral compass on not just what makes you who you are, but the values and the direction that you will take within your business as it continues to evolve. So as we kind of go through this, think about it in those terms as kind of that guide for you to make decisions on certain things that you do within the ever-growing process of your brand. So as you can see here to the right, we have a pyramid. I'm going to call this the value pyramid for the sakes of today's video. So as we go through today's video, we're really going to alliterate on this right here, what I call the value pyramid. You can see brand at the top, branding. We're going to have systems, and we're going to go through a step-by-step process, starting with the very beginning here, and we're going to move up the value pyramid. We're going to start off by talking through these 3 steps, and stay tuned to the end of this video where we will actually give you a download that will actually help you be able to do this value process yourself. We usually do it within our own workshops, but we'll leave that link down in the comments below. As part of our continued effort to help brands around the world create and develop upon their vision, we created multiple downloads to help you during that process. In regards to the video we're working on today, we do have a link down in the comment section. Go down there, download that free download, and work through this workshop with you and or your team so that you can start taking your brand to the next level. But let's start off with step 1, knowing yourself. I want you to think about yourself for a sec. What is your DNA? Who are you? And if you don't really have any values per se, I want you to start thinking about those values in your life from a personal perspective that you can start transitioning into your brand values. If you're within a leadership role or you're a business owner, these values are going to be something that you're going to evolve over time to continue to grow the brand that you are creating. And as you start looking at yourself, I want you to think about certain things. What are the problems that you solve? What are the passions that you like to put out into the world? What makes you feel alive? And I want you to start to write these things down. And these are going to be portrayed in the aspect of your vision, your mission, your value proposition. And that's actually going to be towards the bottom. These are going to be the things that you solve, the things that you do. So right here, I'm just going to write in the business perspective, we're going to write mission. These will be where you start your values. So your values, we're going to have your value, your proposition. Core offerings could be here too. Anything that portrays to the business side, getting stuff written down, get stuff kind of pushed forward for yourself. And these will actually be the things that motivate you towards taking that vision and setting a clear path and a clear goal. Now, as we start to move along through this first step, you want to make sure that your values and the mission that you're trying to push forward really match that vision that you really want out of a company. What this means is these are going to be not just your guiding factor, but they're going to be the things that you start pushing forward to turn your brand from a one-man show that probably delegates a little bit to possibly building a team to building that customer base that you really want to thrive and help and build trust with. So these are going to be everything that you get written down. Now, I would say, stuff like logo, visual communications, written communications, which this really is right here. These are all just going to be pieces that you can look back on and continue to build upon as you continue to evolve your team and your customer base so that you know how to act, say, do, feel, those types of situations. And it will actually guide you toward that next step into the value pyramid, which will actually help you build trust, which is kind of the most important here. Now, before we move forward with this second and third part of the value pyramid, I want to hear from you because this is a good opportunity for you to sit down and try to find those values. So I want you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. I want you to think about 2 to 3 times in your life that you just felt completely happy, that you resonated with. It could be a time from 2 years ago, a time from yesterday, a time from when you were a child, and start thinking about the actions and the things that you were doing. It could be with friends, it could be with colleagues, it could be with family. It doesn't really matter. And try to define a value term for yourself that kind of helped contribute to that happiness. Here's an example. Let's say that you have a community that you go to. For me personally, I love to go to the gym. And so I have built a community around that with the ever-growing of what we're doing here at Creative. And I have this really big sense of connection. I love working out. I love building a connection with myself upon going to the gym. So that actually helped me find one of my value terms, which is connection. And so this is where you would help define your value. Now, go down in the comment box below after you do this exercise. I want to hear from you what kind of values you put down. Don't overthink it. Start small. You're always going to evolve and change these as you continue to grow, evolve as a person and as a brand. Now, step 2 of this process, knowing your tribe. Now, there's something that I want everyone to kind of take into consideration here because I see a lot of hype online that talks about building a personal brand. Personal brand doesn't mean that you're always going to work for yourself. In fact, everyone's going to have to build a team to grow. There's no way, it's just unrealistic for you to work all those hours in a day to be able to get what you need to do. You'll start to delegate. You'll start to hire certain people within marketing, within services, within operations, depending on what you're doing. And as you continue to grow, it's not just your customers that are going to be part of your tribe. It's going to be your team. So with that said, who is your audience? Who are the people that you want to build trust with? These are usually portrayed as customer profiles. You can even have employee profiles if you really want, the types of people that you want to bring into the company. Mostly that's pertained in creating the hierarchy of needs on where you want the business to go over a few years. But as you're starting small, or if you're at that gap period where you're just having team that you really feel isn't really doing their jobs, a lot of that is due to the values that are associated with you and the company as it grows. And so your audience and your team are going to want to live by these values as well. So team. So to start building trust with these types of people, you need to understand who they are and the kinds of things that they like and make sure that you are creating values that can attract those people to you. So I'll use this for an example. Connection. Connection is one of ours over here at Creative. Me personally, connection is one of my biggest values. I thrive on connection. I thrive on being able to not just talk to my customers face to face, but be able to have employees that can connect not just with themselves, with the rest of the team. So that's where those values come in. It's kind of like a connection of values, right? I want to make sure that as we're hiring, we're bringing people in, the first layer of defense is to make sure that they value that sense of connections. So we'll probably ask questions to them on the hiring process and kind of talk about, is there a time in your life when you were working with a teammate or a colleague and something didn't quite turn out right? What was the end result to that? And so you associate a question with that, and that's part of the hiring process. And that's how you're slowly going to start vetting and bringing people in if you see that they value that sense of connection. And that's how you start living by it. Now, when it comes to the clients and the types of people you want to bring in, start looking at how do you build trust with existing clients and your existing audience. Well, for us, for Connection, we own a branding firm and, web development, and we do digital marketing as well. So we have certain types of situations that portray it seems almost fully online. And so as we're building out the things that we do, we want to make sure Connection aligns with all of our customers as well. And so with that said, I want to make sure that we have one-on-one calls if we're doing a lot of online work, that we want to build that connection. We want to make sure we're asking them certain questions that relate not just to them from a business perspective, but things maybe possibly in their personal life that they do. And we want to be able to build that connection with them from an internal level. Another part of Connection is if you know your target audience and you can relate to them based off of your values, you will know the types of things that they value. And so you could possibly do some sort of campaign and retention campaign towards those existing audiences that they value. For us, if we work with gyms, they probably have a very hard time understanding market segmentation. And instead of just sending them a video per se, or doing any sort of outreach if it's coming to getting new clients, I want to be able to build that sense of connection with them. So with that in mind, we will usually fly out to a location if it's a brick and mortar gym, for instance, and we'll have a one-on-one session with them personally. If we're doing a workshop, we may move from being a virtual workshop to making it a more connection. I'm willing to pay that extra expense for that sense of connection because I know that they value that as well with me. And so that's just one kind of way that you can start taking your team and your customer and starting to build that connection with them. The last step in this whole process, living by your values. It actually seems harder than it really is, right? Or vice versa. You may be like, oh, that's easy peasy. I live by my values every day. Well, we're going to kind of portray this. And the reason I didn't put this up here is because this is going to be your marketing. We kind of talked about, the Connection side right here with our team and what I try to do internally when it comes to existing clients, existing team members, or new clients or new team members. But the hardest part with what I see with most prospects and the most people that we work with is that they skip this part. They skip the value stuff, or they create these values and they end up just being a random word that they push their team to understand or know. And this is what causes large corporations to be so disorganized. That, and they have 3, 4, 5, 10,000 employees. But, I would say this is your problem going from here. And we're going to just go marketing, the how. Marketing the how. Now, every decision that you make, every process that you create, every interaction you have with a client doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. But at the end of the day, as you start to grow and expand, it's going to be that value that's going to keep those people aligned and build that consistency amongst your team and your customers. And so every time that you create a piece of content, you try to get past that marketing fatigue, right? And try to figure out what's going to work for me and our company, you need to look at this. And so this comes down to customer service. This comes down to building that consistency and the types of marketing that you do, types. This also comes down to how you actually create your product. I'm going to use an example here. We worked with a client about a year and a half ago, and they were paying us quite a bit of money. I'd say about $10K a month on average to do certain things. And when they first came in, we saw this, we worked through the process. We made sure they followed our values. There was this connection within the way that we kind of helped them. And we really sat through the onboarding process with them, our offer up front, and we do like a competitive analysis sometimes. And when we were kind of going through that process, they seemed like a great fit. Sometimes people fall through the cracks. As we started to work with them, we came to realize about 2 to 3 months in that they didn't value the same things as we did. Now, no one's going to be perfect, but this client was kind of a pain in the butt. So they would communicate completely different than they would over the phone. And then when we tried to connect with them, they connected very well over the phone, but not over email. And that's besides the point. But what I'm getting at here is we tried to have great customer service. I did my best to make sure that he was aligned with, having calls with all the specialists that were working on his projects. I made sure that I was around to work with him if he had any sort of, what I call ex-girlfriend syndrome problems he had with past agencies. And we worked with him. He owns a wellness company. And I'm not trying to go into the story of how we interacted with him. I'm going into the story of how he portrayed himself and his values. He owned a wellness company, so you would assume that his values are portrayed around making people feel better or healthy. But the way he interacted with us from a client engagement standpoint made me completely feel like I wouldn't trust his products. And so you want to really work on the types of, now that you have the types of people in the door that you want and the types of audience and team, you really need to work on how your customer service really resonates with the values that we're trained with. Give you an example. Ours is connection. So we will go beyond measure, like I said, to reach out to existing audiences, talk to them, and be able to work with them when needed. We don't hire people that just sit behind a desk and try to say, hey, I have no idea about this project, but I'm just here to see how you are, types of situations. We like to communicate our customer service either face-to-face or one-on-one sessions to be able to work through any sort of processes, because I understand when clients don't understand certain types of things within branding and marketing. And so that goes in depth with our workshops as well. So that's how we're going to try to connect with our audience when it comes to customer service. We try to make things more human. The types of marketing play a huge factor in that. So depending on what your value is, you need to really think about the how. How are you marketing to people? And I'll use this as a great example. I'm not a fan of cold outreach. I'm not a fan of emailing a million people and just waiting till one sticks. It's not who I am. I'm very much value connection. I very much value understanding a certain person's wants and needs when we're trying to help them so that we can reach an outcome. And so I will make sure that the types of marketing that we do play into that. I'm going to focus much more on warm marketing at that point. I'm going to focus much more on expos, speaking, conferences, because to me, building a connection one-on-one, one, reaches my target market, but two, it allows me to connect on a much deeper level with each one of my clients, and I expect my employees to do the same thing. That's why we match values. Now, that also goes into the product development. So I'm a big fan of product before market. And when I look at the products and how we're developing those products, I want to make sure that the communication and that connection is clear with them. So when I am developing a product, my product has lots of interaction and connection with it. So with that said, I'm not going to force my clients to go through thousands of revisions, for instance. That's not really a connection type situation. That's really a revision type, like a production type system where it's just send off, get a reply. We want to connect. We want to help. We want to be able to partner with them, right? And doing what we do best. And so part of our product development is I make sure that during the phases of delivery and production that we have certain touch points involved within our projects, that we are checking in with them, that we are making sure that certain things are up to satisfaction of what the thought process was and what we were doing and how we were portraying it. And so this is just kind of a guide for you and understanding how you can kind of build that connection within that. And so I hope that this value pyramid has given you some guidance on how you can start building your business, your team, and your marketing around that guide of your brand values. And I want you to start to imagine how your customer can connect with you, can connect with your brand and your values. I didn't really bring too much about authenticity within this video, but the more you live by your values, the more authentic you are in the business side, the customer and team side, and the marketing side that you are, the more authentic you are with who you are, the more likely you're going to attract, build trust, and build retention within your existing audience. And who knows, as you start to build this connection and start building these values up, you're going to turn those normal customers into possible raging advocates for your brand. Overall, building those brand values is going to take time and energy. Working with your team, working with clients, existing or new, will take energy to build that trust, but the payoff is huge. By following the steps that we provided in this video and downloading the link down in the comments, you can build that brand that can build customer trust, employee trust, and start to build that retention and that connection that you really want at a deeper level. Again, we'd love for you to tackle that subscribe button down below so that we can help get this message out to as many people as possible and help them build their successful brands. In coming videos, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can set goals within your brand so that you can start pushing yourself to the next level. And again, why don't you click here to see our new and improved podcast where we go through those visionary thoughts with people in the athletic industry and how they push forward with their goals and their missions and their values. And up here, why don't you check this latest video up here where we go through some branding pillars on how you can start developing your brand within the right direction. Thank you for watching. We'll talk soon.